Hello, hello. How is everybody? Let me turn that down a little. It has a nice voice. I mean, nice. Hold on. So can I just go from my autosave here? Ah, yes, this is exactly where we left off. The familiar fireplace. And the same voice and the same song is going here. Chicory, you missed me? What? I know, I was back. I was like gone for 2 weeks, and then right when I came back, I was hardly streaming because I was like, had this stomach ache that took me out for 2 days, so I barely got to stream at all. My vacation was good. Eventful. There was a lot of family stuff. And because it was raining in California, we were all basically just indoors hanging out, so we got to talk a lot. But I had a good time. Oh my god, I had so much good food. My uncle over there made so much good food. Like, a hot breakfast every morning, so I'm pretty sure I gained weight just because of all the good food. I was staring at one last tamale that he made in the fridge, and I'm just like, I should eat it. I should eat it. Anyway, I hope you've been doing good, Chicory Wren. Sorry I've been gone a whole lot. My cool uncle, yes. He's actually like my aunt's husband, so I haven't actually talked to him so much until this time, so we're like tight now, and he made so much good food. Anyway, so I would play this last time I streamed on the 31st. This was gonna be like my April Fool's. Oh, lots of art stuff since I've been gone. Ooh, cool. Like, what kind of art things are you working on? This is gonna be my April Fool's thing, and it turns out my body, or I ate a bad thing. My my Sonic order pulled an April Fool's joke on me and took me out for 2 days. So, dragons! Oh, that's so cool! I know, Sonic. I trusted you. How could you do this? But, yeah. So, this is a spin-off of the House in Fata Morgana, which I played last year. And I thought was one of my more, memorable, one of the more memorable games to me that I thought I streamed. It's a visual novel that's very intense, very long, and I voice acted the whole damn thing by myself. And Cece! Oh my god, 9 months. I can't believe it. Cece, thank you so much. So Cece was helping me through Fata Morgana because she'd played it before. And so this, I think it was like an April Fool's joke of a game, but it's kind of serious. My VODs, oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying my VODs, Cece. But yeah, so basically all you need to know is that characters from the original game are like in the modern world now, except they've been isekai'd into a video game mysteriously. Michelle, who we're gonna see, who I think is the perspective this is happening from now. Michelle is a starving indie game dev who has his own website with his games on it. And a lot of the people playing his games who like trash him on the forums of his website went to go download his new game on April Fool's, and then when they all download the game, all of them, including Michelle, mysteriously end up in a game world where they're in an RPG. And they just won. When I left off, they won the game once, only to find out that didn't let them out of the game world. They're still stuck, so now they gotta figure out what to do. And there's also a lot of flashbacks, so Michelle, a lot with Michelle meeting Giselle. So Michelle and Giselle were like the big romance of the original game. Yeah, like Jumanji. Hey, Del! I know, right? So yeah, Del over here let me embarrass myself for weeks on end because I was saying Jacopo instead of Jacopo, and Del only decided to deign to tell me when I was almost done with the entire game. Oh yeah, if you missed it last time, Del, Jacopo is back. But, what else is so, Giselle and Michelle have a romance this time too. And this song that's playing right now that goes like, do you hear the voice, the voice? This was a song that Giselle wrote for Michelle's first game. So yeah, there's something about the first game going on. Yes, Michelle and Giselle are so precious. Ooh. Yeah, they never really leave us. All right, so the game basically glitched and we're somewhere else now. So here's the fireplace that was at the beginning of the original house in Fata Morgana, and Giselle's song for Michelle's game is playing, so let's see what's going on here. You saw the song brought up on Michelle's fake site. He added it to the fairy raising game. Yeah, that's what this is for. It's for the fairy raising game. But yeah, there's an actual game site you can go to that was on a QR code that flashed on the game. So you can even like go into my VOD and scan the QR code if you want to see like the fake game website. Anyway, what was waiting for us after we dove through the pool of static was... Everyone trashed it. Of course they did. How could you trash Giselle's beautiful song, though? An old, lived-in room from some mansion. There was a large oh my god. There was a large fireplace before us, complete with logs crackling in the flames. There was a single rocking chair, like one anyone would have before a fireplace. It was just like the beginning of the house in Fata Morgana. But there was a dark tinge to the air around us. Where are we? So Nellie's here, I'm not alone. Here's Jacopo, an old fireplace, a rocking chair. I've seen this scene before. Maria's here. Maria invented Farmville. In this, Maria invented Farmville in college and became famous. Maria invented Farmville, yes. Oh, I'm sure this has to do at least with like, first-hand experience from the game devs. Probably about Fata Moru, at least a little bit, but I'm sure like their entire careers being indie game devs. Anyway, this is Fairy House. So that's Michelle. I'm going from his perspective. Fairy House was the first game I released to the world. Once the players sat in the rocking chair, the fairies would appear before them. Continuing to teach the fairies words will increase their conversational capacity bit by bit. It's a simple game with a simple system. But still, being my first game, it meant something special to me. So it's the first one that I updated as well. Why is the secret area Fairy House? Is it related to 7th Lair somehow? Don't ask me. Looking around here, there was no one other than us, and nothing seemed blatantly out of the ordinary. The room was dark, the fire, our only source of light. I know, right? I want to talk with fairies too. Although, the fairies did say something kind of fucked up to Yukimasa. I think it was just because of the limitations of the game. It was something like, Yukimasa asking something like, why do I want to kill people? And the fairy's like, that's a great dream. Good luck, you know? Like, completely wrong answer to the question. I think that's something along those lines. That's not the exact words, but... The room was dark, the fire, our only source of light. Lol, whoa, fairies, calm down, yeah. There was a lonely air of solitude about the room. Well, this is a letdown. We made it to the end game, but there's not even a last boss or anything similar. It's not scary at all. I don't know, it feels familiar, yet sad. Yeah, it does feel familiar, doesn't it? Well, I mean, it was... yeah, a word filter. Yukimasa, you can't ask those questions. These have forbidden words. That's how it made me feel too. Right, it's hard to see in this dim light, and it feels so somber. But it makes me think of Fairy House. I like that game the best. At any rate, it doesn't seem to be any kind of last boss stronger than the Demon Lord here. Hang on a second. There's no exit here. Well, oh, you're right. There's no door or anything. Huh? What, are we shut in now? Is some sort of escape scene about to start? Maybe it's just a part of the game? Like, I don't know, they're recreating Fairy House close to the real thing, or something like that? The real thing. Makes you feel that way, but something's lacking. In Fairy House, once you started the game, you saw the fireplace, but there were no other elements to it. Ah, right, now that you mention it. Usually there's a title screen or some options menu. There was literally nothing else here. And there's not even a tutorial. Sheesh, this is exactly what we mean. There's no consideration for the players, no polish. You just can't do a game right. No, it's not that it's unpolished. It's just the way it is. What I wanted to do with Fairy House wasn't make it like a game, but actually the opposite. I wanted to do away with what a game is entirely. So even if people were dissatisfied with it, I had no intention of improving it. Changing any of the settings wouldn't have been an improvement. To me, it would have been made worse. But isn't making it easier better? You could have had a lot more people play it that way. For a creator, there are certain things you can give up and other things you can't. No matter how confusing it is, or how little there is to grasp at. If I put even one such expository line into Fairy House, then the fairies would truly cease to exist. By having the players spend time and search within themselves for how to connect with the fairies, their existence would become something real for the player. In a way, I made it difficult on purpose. You're living in the wrong age. No one wants an exercise in vanity in their games these days. A game that contains none of the creator's ego is just a useless commodity. Something like that can never become a masterpiece. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't sell. Something being unrecognized means it might as well not exist. There are plenty of approaches that could nab you success. What you need to think about is how to get your content out into the world. What you think of first is what you want to express. Even if millions of people download your game, if it leaves no impression on them, and if they forget about it after a number of months, and it fades away like a news headline, then can you really say it exists? Are you trying to put me down right now? Oh no! Because Maria was Farmville and everybody forgets about Farmville nowadays. Yeah. Michelle's like, yeah, bitch. That's you. I downloaded your game 4 years ago. I think it was well researched and definitely considered the users and the design. But that was all that I got from it. All of your other ones were that way too. They sell well in the moment, but they never remained a topic for long. You only made something to sell and didn't have any sort of expression to go with it. Don't act like you know, buddy. Can you say your dumb games leave a lasting impression? You don't even have that many. They do indeed. Nelly, Aid, and his friends as well. It's already a 4-year-old game. And Giselle, too. Oh, that's right. Giselle was a fan of his games, but she was like a normie, so she was like, oh, I don't like emailing. Can we meet up face to face? And Michelle was like, is this real life? A girl is asking me out because she liked my games. You're talking so idealistically, it almost makes me want to puke. Well, that's Michelle. You produce no results. And you have no right to denounce my games. You're just barking at the moon. And now you're taking jabs at me out of regret over your own games. Bashing on someone who actually made money and trying to put yourself on a pedestal. Try and talk once you're actually in the same league as me. Oh, shit. Why are they being so savage to each other? They respect each other so much. Hey, calm down, you two. Why do you have to start fighting all of a sudden? Agreed. Can you two have your little rivalry debate later? This is not the time for it right now. Yeah, sorry. All right. I just get a little fired up when people take shots at me. Maybe it's my creative genes? Sheesh, I'm getting exhausted already. We can't leave this room as we are. So everyone, search around and find a way to do so. I will be observing from here. Report back when you found something. Not planning on helping again. This is something that underlings should do. I shall take a few moments' rest. Jacopo then sat down in the rocking chair near the fire. Great, thanks for nothing. The chair creaked from the weight of him sitting down, and before that sound stopped, a voice echoed in the room. Hello, JB. Oh, they can actually play with the fairies. Oh shit. Huh? What? Let's have a nice chat together. What? I hate these baby noises. Oh my god. Well, what's going on? What the fuck is this song? I need to turn this up a little. That was how Fairy House started. When the players sat down on the rocking chair, the fairy appeared before them, which meant that Jacopo, sitting down, started a fairy house? What? So is this the actual voice of the fairies? Where is it coming from, though? It was such an odd voice. It was indistinct, yet flowed sharply into your head. While it sounded like a young girl's voice, it also sounded like that of an elderly woman's. Something about it was enchanting. Oh, so I should give the I should give the fairy Morgana's voice. I know the squealy baby noises is so creepy, but this means I should give the fairy Morgana's voice. Got it. If something such as magic actually existed, it wasn't magical spells or something in the game, but rather the mesmerizing effect of the voice itself. Just hearing the voice threatened to put you in a trance, enchanting you to madness. Yep, it's Morgana, all right. Let's talk together, JB. I was looking forward to talking to you. Talk? I'll do no such thing. You're the perpetrator of all this, yes? Reveal yourself to us this instant. Did something happen today? Hey, don't play games with me. The start was exactly the same as the fairy house I made. At first, the fairy couldn't have a coherent conversation, but as you taught them more words, certain parameters were unlocked, and they could greet you like this. And eventually, they would ask you questions. I remember programming that exact question we just heard. Well, yes, it's been a string of disasters. I've been forced in some crazy game, and to make it worse, we still can't find an exit. Hurry up and return us to our world at once. What does disaster mean? What does it mean? Are you toying with me? This is all you're doing, right? Why are you putting us through this nonsense? Answer me. Does that mean Jacopo played Fairy House a lot? Oh, I'm sure he did. He must have played all of Michelle's games. There are too many words for me to answer, JB. You little... Calm down, please. That's the pre-programmed answer. She's... the fairy is only doing as the system dictates. Tsundere asks, yeah. What? If that's the case, then why are we in Fairy House in the first place? This is a deliberately made secret area, or are we merely being made to do something pointless again? Put an end to this nonsense, I'm sick of it. You seem to be tired. What? Something sad happened to you, I see. Hey, no more games! What are you talking about? Please tell me about the sad thing that happened today. I will listen. What? It is okay. There is nothing to worry about. I am here to support you. It is okay. What the? It's as though the voice is trying to soothe him. As you continue talking to the fairy, it starts to adjust to the words you use and the nature of your conversations. And the fairy's phrases and demeanor will also start to change. When Giselle used the metaphor of a counselor to describe the fairies, she wasn't wrong. For example, sad, painful, struggle, hate, sick of it, angry, pointless, repeating these kind of negative words again and again. The fairy will start using phrases to sound accepting of your problems. It is okay, JB. Stop. Don't say that right now. What's wrong, JB? Why are you shaking? You are doing a good enough job. You are not a bad person in any way. This is... This is like the things Jacopo would have wanted to hear from Morgana, but Morgana would have never said in a million years. I'm telling you to stop. Jacopo. The others were confused by what they were witnessing. But being the creator of this, I knew it all too well. I knew why. Why the fairy seemed to be consoling him. Who Who was it that hurt you? It is okay. Let us not think too deeply about it, and have a good rest. I am your friend. Please, do not worry. It is okay. For certain types of people, having overly enthusiastic support only made things harder and added to their stress. What they needed was only someone to be accepting of them. But the fact that the fairy was using such overly comforting language to him must have meant that Jacopo, have you ever told the fairy that you wanted to die? Oh, fuck. Also, Cece, you were right. His inputs were already in the game. Geez, and here I was thinking this Jacopo seemed more well-adjusted than the other ones. What? JB, but why? Is Citalopram doing well? Huh? Is Sulparide one of your friends? Stop it. Stop talking. No more. I'm quitting the game. Force quit. Fairy house. Quit. It is okay. Let's depend on our friends. I'm ordering you to stop. Letting his rage take over, Jacopo slammed the rocking chair to its side. A loud crash echoed through the room. And the now huffing and puffing Jacopo's face was as pale as a ghost's. What was that just now? So, something? Yeah, Michelle, this is kind of an irresponsible game. This is why chatbots can be scary. Yeah. It's the name of a medicine to treat depression. Depression? What? No, I'm not that weak of a man. The only one here like that, it's not me, but Doc Dork over here. He's the one who would be depressed. He's a bottom-feeding game maker with no fame and no money. He fits that bill perfectly. Hey, Fairy, listen, you're saying that to the wrong person. I'm not like that at all. I've never been to a psychiatrist. Huh? Jacopo. No, I'm not a bottom feeder. I'm not like you. I'm higher up. Calm down, man. No one's trying to call you out on anything. I'm in a company. I'm employed, you got that? An NVC corporation, a listed company, you hear? NVC Corporation? Oh yes, a very selective company that rejects even top-level graduates. What year? Huh? I mean, what year did you enter the company as a new hire? Your age is fine, too. I'm 26, but what is that? 26. So you joined as a new hire at 22? What does that matter to you? I'm 25. And should also point out that I'm an employee of NVC. I knew they had to fucking know each other. This is like the one universe where they're like, oh, I don't know who that is. So this is how they know each other in this universe. Huh? The year before I joined, they didn't take any new employees fresh out of college. Not even one. No, wait, Jacopo's lying about his job? Man, it's wild thinking about how this game's from 2013, how much mental health stuff has changed in the last decade. Now that's even saying a lot, especially because this is a Japanese game. And mental health stuff is still a mess in Japan. No, wait. Right, I forgot. I took 1 year to study abroad, so I ended up graduating a year later. So that makes us the same year at the company. But I've never seen your face before. This is a massive corporation that struts around the world. It eats smaller companies for breakfast. Obviously, you couldn't know the face of every one of your colleagues. Yeah, well, usually you'd be right. That is, if you didn't know the way we roll. All of us that joined the same year are really close-knit. So even those in offices in other countries, we're all linked on Facebook. Oh my god, Facebook! It's even lowercase. In fact, if we're not linked, the first thing that jumps to my mind is, why not? To be blunt, not being in the NVC Facebook group is both weird and hard to believe. Everyone is open about having their real face in their pics. So the idea that I've never seen your face, or even your name is, you know. But... No, wait, you made a game that was a hit, didn't you? Yet you say that you're working in a company? Aren't you the one that's lying here? Jacopo, just stop. Oh, you mean Farmy Farm? That was basically a free game. This is Maria's Farmville. I didn't make any money from it. And of course, since then I've made a few other simple games just to share. They managed to reach about 5,000 or 6,000 users, but the price is under $2. And after fees and whatnot, I only end up getting about $1. Even then, they take months to finish. If I could get more out in shorter time, I could probably get by on making those apps alone, but I don't really have it in me. That's the story there. I'm just a normal company worker. Yeah, lol, I didn't even monetize it, yeah. How can a normal company worker? You're a contracted employee at a listed corporation, and as a side gig, you make games that sell 5,000 or 6,000? Nothing can possibly go that smoothly for anyone. It hardly went smoothly. I worked hard at it. I'm not gonna let anyone think it was just luck or something. But I think I figured out what kind of person you are, JB. Your true form is a filthy, jealous liar. You look down in scorn on others, trying to keep your fake persona in equilibrium. That's why you were always trolling Dark Knight on Realm Heaven. You're someone who does nothing, trying to bring down others for doing something. Isn't that right, JB? No! Now that I really think about it, on the forums, you were always the quickest to reply. To be so ready at the keyboard. There's no way they could be an office worker living on society's schedule, is there? JB... It's not really a bad thing, okay? Wow, so literally everyone's an otaku except for Maria. Maybe you tried to push Dark Knight a little much here and there. She just L plus ratio plus unemployed him. She just did that to Jacopo. Oh my god, she did. That is accurate. But all you did was fib about your life a little. It's kind of similar to the way I did. So for those who aren't caught up, Nelly, in the other game, is always with her brother, but on the forums, she was always with her brother, but it turns out that she's an only child who had no friends. and wish she had an older brother to look after her at school when she was being bullied, so she made up her brother and sock puppeted his account on the forums. And so her brother that showed up in the game was fake, eventually revealed to be a fake person that Nelly was puppeting. You use the sock puppet in forum RPs? Well, maybe that's not so bad if it's RP, but I would have never been brave enough to do that. Something happened, enough to make you mentally unwell, right? It's not your fault then. What's wrong with trying to get well with medicine? Everyone has times when they're unstable in life. You were a little hard on him. Don't make that face. Maria, it's not necessary to be so combative with your words like that. Says you, who was arguing with Maria earlier. Well, come on, it pisses me off. You couldn't choose between two characters, so you pretend you were two separate people playing two separate characters. Man, big brain. You had lots of your games that you made diss to high heaven by him, right? In reality, all that JB here was doing was spewing his own insecurities all over him. Me, I focus on reality. With such a poor guy as him being the target of my truth, I know I'm gonna look like the bad guy. But still, it doesn't override all the times that he lied and looked down on other people for no reason. You, too. You should have gotten mad at him. I think for now, you at least owe Dark Knight an apology. It's payback for all the times you teased him and tried to insult his social standing. It's fine. I don't really care about that. I don't desire any kind of apology. Really? Really? There's more hostility online than I could get in a lifetime. Why should I care about him alone? Well, if you say so. But why? The usual JB is so bold and full of confidence. He doesn't at all seem like the person who would say something about wanting to die. That's how it seemed on the forum, too. You can be any way you want with words. That went for you as well, right? So that's what it came down to. This guy here. Enough. Stop already. Cut me a break, please. Getting called out by someone is the worst thing for me. But it's like you say, I'm in no position to be criticizing Dark Knight. It's me. I'm the shut-in, the NEET. I'm 26 years old and haven't even found a single job yet. Everyone around me is moving forward, getting married. I've accomplished nothing. Fuck. Yakupo's hitting me even harder with the fucking in your 20s relatability that Michelle was. Since I failed to get a job after my first search, I've been stuck. I haven't been able to turn it around, yet I think of myself as a distinguished person. That I could never take a normal job, and that pride keeps getting bigger and bigger. And on the forums and in 7th Lair, I played a character. I try and tread on others and get a temporary feeling of superiority, only to return to my depression hours later. Asking what happened is pointless because nothing happened. Well, Jacopo is Italian, but yeah. Yeah, he's Italian. The lost decade of Italy. But, Michelle is the lost decade of France. Asking what happened is pointless because nothing happened. And that was the problem. There's not even an identifiable reason why I want to die. I just want to, because there's nothing but emptiness in my life. And I have no one to open up to about this. That's why I spend my time bashing free games online. The famous Italian housing bubble of the 90s. Actually, I have no idea what was happening in Italy in the 90s. No, it's not bad. Fairy House was a really good game, Doc Dork. And specifically, he's Sicilian. What the fuck was happening in Sicily in the 90s? I have no idea. I feel like someone finally listened, accepted me. You say you didn't mind it, but I feel sorry that I did that. I think I definitely was jealous in some way. If we get back to reality, I won't troll anymore, and I won't write anything on Royaume Heaven. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. Thinking back, some of it was fun, too. And plus, just with text, I didn't understand anything about you. But now I feel like I know you. Maybe our interactions can be a little different now. Yeah, it turns out Michelle and Jacopo have a few things in common, and I thought I'd never say that, ever. And I know how you feel about not being able to do anything. I mean, look at me. I'm hanging on the edge too. This is what I'm talking about. They have some things in common in this universe. But it's not over. Both of us, our lives aren't over by a long shot. As ones who gathered in Royaume Heaven, we have a connection. Don't say you won't write anything, but yeah. Let's meet up when we get back. I know that right now, you need someone to listen to you. Okay, let me join too. We should all be friends. We were just saying we should all meet up sometimes anyway. But are you too sure about that? I can be a hassle to be around. What do you think they have in common in the regular universe? The fact that they want to be a big shot? The fact that their families want to kill them? Something like that? Terrible personalities. Oh, poor Michelle. Ow. Michelle, you have a terrible personality. People are fighting outside. I hope it's okay. Oh no. But are you too sure about that? I can be a hassle to be around. If I'm left to talk normally, all I can be is negative. That's fine, really. I'm overall a pretty negative thinker, too. I guess that is something they have in common, too. A lack of trust in people. Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't think you'd all process that so easily. I wasn't anticipating that. Well, maybe it's because we're all similar in a way. We're all fucking nerds. Well then, now we have to make the negative faction. I don't know about that name though. Hey, maybe that's the link for us here in 7th Lair. Huh? I feel like all the people gathered here, you know, have something heavy that they're dealing with. Of course they do. This is the house in Fata Morgana, the spinoff. Everyone's kind of like that. Like this girl here, and this guy, and yeah, I didn't actually meet him, but the Dutch decapitator was here too. Yukimasa is an actual serial killer. We were all in Royaume Heaven, so we ended up in 7th Lair. The cause of it was that we downloaded the game. I feel like it's not only that. Nelly like, hey, suicidal party, oh god. Nelly, no. Fight him out, dropping a garbage bag. Oh no. I feel like it's not only that. Hey, so what about you? That would mean that you have some issues too. That's what I was just thinking. Maria, what are your issues then? What issues could you possibly have? You work at a famous corporation, are internet famous. You may as well be in a different dimension than us. Yeah, I'm sure it's just the stress of being a prodigy. We have our own worries too. What a fortunate issue to have. Yeah, you know. And hey, I was thinking about the name 7th Lair. The 7th of what? Lair? Is that supposed to be like area? Like in a game? Somehow I don't think it's exactly that. So I had the idea that maybe 7th Lair is actually the 7th layer of hell? Like Cece is saying? Huh? 7th layer? What do you mean? You need to read more books, buddy. Books, you hear? Get that imagination moving. Well, according to Dante, the 7th circle would be the closest illusion. What is the coat referred to? I know, it must have been pretty bad to get down there. I know, what happened? Down deep. The Divine Comedy? Huh? What? I don't get it. Poor Nelly. The Divine Comedy by Dante. One of the sections is the descent through the Inferno. It speaks about the layout of hell. Hell exists in many layers on top of one another. The deeper the layer, the more heinous the sin. The 7th layer. Ah, that's totally it. The 7th layer is where those who committed violence are sent. Violence? Well, Yukimasa definitely belongs down here then. I've never hurt anyone in my life. Violence has a broad definition. Of course, there's violence against others, like what the decapitator did. But there's also suicide, meaning violence against yourself. That's absurd. I still haven't planned my... You just said still, didn't you? It means there's a possibility of it happening. I would have thought his violence would be like libel against others. Maria's making it all dark. But it still doesn't fit. You're saying that the Inferno Dante envisioned of is where we are now. But this isn't hellish, nor were we made to suffer. Jacopo, you were just having a moment in that fucking chair. I'd say this is a little hellish. We're only being made to play a game. Can such an absurd hell exist? But maybe we're about to start our suffering, never being able to leave this room, unable to ever atone. We're made to stress and worry. Hell is a kusoge. Libel is a different circle. Oh, you're right. Libel is a different circle. If we're being strict to Dante's Divine Comedy here, then what was everybody else's sins? And what if that was it? So, wait, this is the end? Does Seventh Lair not actually have an ending? I finally made some friends too. I was planning on trying so much harder in real life too. Is there nothing we can do about this? That's merely a guess. This is not over. Maria, you were the one who said that we would need to meet with the creator directly. That there's something on the second playthrough. We have to find the true creator and ask what this place is, and if there is some common link between us. The one who's pulling the strings. Morgana, no. Well, then you gotta think, Dark Knight. The one who's the most knowledgeable about Fairy House is you. It's time to draw the card. The card that pulls the puppet master out of the shadows. Right. At the moment, we were frozen in place. We got past the static and thought we could meet the creator of Seventh Lair, but instead, the fairy is just the same one I programmed. With no hints to go off, how does she expect me to just draw the proverbial card we needed? Liars go to the 8th circle of hell. Oh! The 9th? And the 9th layer is like Judas, like betrayers, right? If I'm remembering. Or is it only 8 layers? Was it 8 or 9 layers? I'm totally forgetting now. Oh, oops. Think, is there something here? Oh. No, 9's the deepest is traitors. Ah. So 7th layer of hell, violence. What violence did everybody commit? I guess we're gonna find out. No, it's nothing big. Or at least it probably isn't. If Maria, like, very decidedly decided upon that, that implies she definitely did something. Jacopo again! No, it's nothing big, or at least it probably isn't. Jacopo is like, sitting very cleanly in at least half of those layers of hell, perhaps even a majority. Like the swindlers, the liars, the betrayers, the violent ones, the greedy ones. The assumption that they're all suicidal unless otherwise stated. Yukimasa. Well, Yukimasa was suicidal if you saw that part of the VOD. He had like a passive death wish and he was planning to like die when he was about to be caught by the police and why am I blanking? No, why am I blanking on her name? No, Pauline. And Pauline was going to, should have turned him in, but didn't. And then he basically, like, accidentally killed Pauline. and then ended up giving his life up, purposefully to atone, I guess, or just turn himself over to Pauline and die. Also fun, not fun fact, this is also the circle that Dante said, "Hey, people go to the..." Dante, no! Oh god. No, it's nothing big. Or at least it probably isn't. Looking at that fireplace more closely, it's looping. The fireplace is looping? The fire itself, it's just repeating the same motions. So that means it's not actual fire, but just a visual where the fire would be. The town in 7th Lair was the same. The crackling sound of the flames was just a loop of the same sound effect. Yeah, so what about it? I mean, isn't it a little weird? Everything's been weird since the start. What's weird about fake fire at this point? Right. Except for them to use the sound effects and visuals, that means they're trying to reproduce Fairy House exactly according to the game. And yet there's no theme song. Oh right, I didn't notice. After the patch came out in February, there was a theme song added to it. Hey, that's what you were talking about, CC, on the website. The February patch adding Giselle's song. Right, started playing once you booted up Fairy House. Perhaps they overlooked it? Was it just an oversight? I somehow doubt that whoever created this is the type to throw something together haphazardly. And if that's the case, I think it was done intentionally. But for what purpose? Well, we would have to ask whoever planned it. Wait, ask whoever planned it? Right, this could very well be it. Our way to communicate with the mastermind. What do you mean by that? If something was left out intentionally, the players get curious and want to ask whoever made it. But the ones who go that far are only the most hardcore fans. Usually people just write it off as a bug or an oversight. If we're players who would go so far as to concern ourselves with the creator, maybe we're supposed to be the ones who sing it? Oh, they're gonna sing? Oh boy! Then the creator probably wants to hear from people like us. At least that's what I think their aim is. I can sing it! I definitely remember all the lyrics. I played it nearly every day. Jacopo played Fairy House every day. So I suppose I remember them as well. You played it that much, huh? And you, Maria? If you can, I think it's best if we all sing together. Yeah, sure. I'll sing. You know the lyrics too? Well, yeah. Okay, can we start? Let's all start on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you? Oh, I'll just let... Huh? Isn't that the wrong name there? It's Sound, right? God, I can't French. Help. I don't think it's wrong. I've listened to it so many times now. Which do you think it is, JP? I'm pretty sure it's Roan. Huh? No, come on, it's... Roan is the correct lyric. But Sound is is what Giselle wrote. What's going on, Michelle? That's the lyric in the patch for version 2.2 that I uploaded to Realm Heaven. Version 2.2? I thought something was off here. You said you only posted anonymously, but you're quite well informed about Realm Heaven's happenings. And also about my games in general. I was just a lurker. And the games, well, I had to keep an eye on a potential rival, and that's not it. There's something more definitive. I thought it couldn't possibly be the case, given your appearance. The theme song. We did 2 versions of it. Another flashback with Giselle? Yes, let's go! I've been waiting for another Giselle flashback. Wait, let's sing it one more time. Why? That one wasn't bad at all. Oh, wait, let's sing it one more time. Why? That one wasn't bad at all. I want to change the lyrics. Just the end part. Not the Sound River, but the Rhone River. Huh? But we visited the Sound. I just think we have such nice memories at that place. I kind of wanted to have it be our secret. So wait, why does Maria know about that then? That's suspicious. For you only have the fairies' song resonate within the Sound River. Okay, let's do another recording. Okay, but I want to keep this one anyway. You said you wanted to be our secret, but there's another, and I would like for them to know the true version of the song. Maria? Oh, maybe that's the friend who was introduced. Right. So Giselle was introduced to Realm Heaven through a friend. I guess that friend was Maria. Which makes sense because Maria and Giselle end up becoming friends in reincarnation. He's the only wait. He. Oh, wait, no, this is Michelle talking about Imion. Wait, then Imion is Maria? No way. No way. What's going on? Oh, so Michelle wants to share the song with Imion. Okay. You said you wanted to be our secret, but there's another, and I would like for them to know the true version of the song. He's the only person I can call a friend. He's important. So I want him to hear it too. Okay, I understand. If it's someone like that, then I support it. There's an unreleased version of Fairy House. What I uploaded to Realm Heaven was version 2.2. They're doing tricks with Maria's identity again, yes. The version with Sound River in the theme song is version 2.1. I only gave it to one other person. There are only 3 people in this world who would sing Sound River in the song. Wait, what? Imion! Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Imion. What the heck? I never knew you did that. Imion is Maria. I didn't see that coming. Cause in Requiem for Innocence, Imion is like a completely separate person. Unless, wait a second. Maria was reincarnated. Do you think Imion could have been a reincarnation of Maria, but we never knew because Imion got a flesh-eating disease? But Imion had red hair. But that could have been part of the disguise. And Imion's, like, birth name was Noemi, which is Imion backwards. Wait, I'm getting in too deep. Just like, in this game, Imion is Maria. Okay. What the heck? I never knew you did that. Why did you lie? You've always said you're a man. Ah, shit. Looks like I just shot myself in the foot. I was really trying hard to make you think I was someone else. Answer me. Imion, the one who always wrote on the forums. No. Imion was around when, Michelle was alive. And, Michelle was born after, Morgana died. Maria was around when Morgana was alive. And I think it's not, yeah. And it's not very clear how far apart those two time periods are, but I'd say at least a couple decades, right? Yeah. He was always so much nicer to Dark Knight than others too, so I kind of thought they knew one another in real life too. He was a she? A girl pretending to be a guy? That doesn't really matter right now. What's important now is that, like hell it doesn't, you were lying to me for 5 whole years. And not only that, you were actually a content creator? And one who had more hits than me to boot. Even though you always said you weren't. Whatever. Is this really the time to bring it up? You're supposed to be getting the true mastermind to show himself. Well, if I don't now, then when? So, were you always looking down on me? You reveled at how I never got any hits, didn't you? And I thought you were my friend. You deceived me. So answer me, Imion. Psh. If I told you the truth, you wouldn't have kept being my friend. What? No, No, you definitely wouldn't have. That's the kind of guy you are. If you knew I was a woman, you would have stopped talking to me. And if you knew I made Farmy Farm, you would have seen me as an opponent from that point on, complete with your selfish poor me inferiority complex. And you would have pushed me away. I mean, even now, the first thing that came out of your mouth was accusing me of reveling over your download count. Without even so much as a glimpse at the relationship we've established. The first thing you put forward is your own insecurities. But still, a friendship built on false premises. What false premise? What? As far as I know, I've never lied to you. But you have. I mean, you're not a man. I never asked to be born in this body. Trans king? That's like Imion in Wait, are you? What is it? Transgender? Yeah, that's what they like to call it. But if you had just told me, then Why didn't you just open up to me? Trans King Maria. The reason is simple. Because I wanted to stay your friend. In the end, this appearance will always be stuck on me like glue. Even if I told you what kind of person I really was, you might have just said okay. But you can never consider someone a man who has the body of a woman. You could never shake the incongruity. But if that's the case, then... Right, with modern medicine, isn't there a way to do it? It's not exactly as though you were hurting for money. Ha! What a thing to just let roll off your tongue. You think it's like fiction. You can just flip your gender whenever you want. As far as money goes, it takes more than you're imagining. And beyond that, the physical burden on the body is huge. And despite your now shortened lifespan, what you get is a far cry from your ideal. Your average person tends to think that way. Nothing to worry about with today's technology. As long as you have the money, you can fix any and all problems you have. But it's not like that. You can't totally reverse your gender. You can get something vaguely similar and make your life a tiny bit less painful. And not to mention, you think you can just change it after being well into your 20s. It would flip your relationships upside down, and you might even lose your job. And that's not the only risk. It's very likely your family and relatives would hate you for it. Everyone says on the surface that discrimination is bad, but society pushes away whoever they suspect is a ticking time bomb. And even my parents, they cried and pleaded with me to stop. And when they made me go to a shrink, they all said the same thing. Can't you just give it up? In the end, realized that the only option was, yeah, to give up. So, the only place I could truly be myself was online, or through some character in a game. You tried to hate on Farmy Farm, saying it had no substance or whatever. But you know, I made that for a girl. Huh? I wanted her to like it, to smile. I can never tell her how I truly feel as long as I'm this conflicted in my own mind. So by having her enjoy something I made, I wanted my existence to have a lasting effect on her. White-haired girl? I mean, yeah, or Morgana? I mean, yeah, from a creative standpoint, it lacks substance, but there was inspiration when I made it. The reason it was such a cutesy game was because all I wanted was a single girl to enjoy it. But in your interview, there was nothing like that. You think I could let them write that I wrote it for my girl crush, with this body? And you know what? I agreed to do the thing as long as I didn't have to show my face. But they went ahead and did it anyway. They insisted this is what sells better. And it wasn't like I was a big shot or anything, so my objections were useless. So I'm sure you can figure it out by now, but my outlook on the future isn't great. It's a slight stretch, but I guess that would be my reason for wanting to die. So I guess we're all pretty similar, after all? Well, sorry for dampening the mood with that. Let's patch up that little part at the end and make our way to the final stage here, shall we? Wait, I'm not finished discussing this. I haven't been able to ask you a single thing. If you want to discuss, let's do it later, if you still feel like it. But what's important right now is finishing 7th Lair. Okay, let's sing. And hope this mastermind of a creator shows himself. Okay. Yeah. Can you hear the voice, always there for you? Oh my god, I'm butchering this. The voice of fairy. Someday you shall be away, but her voice will never fade away, as memories have not gone away. Someday, when it comes to be oppressive days for you, remember days I was with you, the days of warmth and peace. I shall send you the voice of a fairy through Lair, and it shall reach you true. Welcome to the entrance to 7th Lair. Oh, it's the fucking Morgana music. Damn, Debs were really like, you're mad? Fata is pro-LGBT? You're mad about it? Die mad. Yeah, they really are like that. It really worked. Hey, I fucking called it, didn't I? Your dedicated search for the creator is worthy of praise. And your rise to action and yearning for the truth will be a driving force for you all. Are you a fairy? The illustrations in Fairy House could hardly have been called realistic and frankly not even remotely good. But the female with braided hair before us now, it felt like she resembled her in a way I couldn't pinpoint. I am merely making myself appear as a fairy. I was forced to do this in order to stay in congruence with this world. I have no physical form, nor voice, yet my existence permeates everything all at once. Well, I suppose that the peculiarity of my existence made its way into this form a bit. Bonehand! But your arm, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with your arm, Morgana? How did it get to be that way? It's a different universe, but I'm sorry. Who or what are you? Who am I? Asking is futile. Such an inquiry onto my existence would have far too broad of a meaning to be communicated. But you're the one who did this, aren't you? You made this crazy 7th Lair game and locked all of us inside of it. How odd. I did not intend to lock any of you in. You being before me now means the next door is about to open. Doors! And the place it takes you will depend on your own volition. Be it your own world, or to the 7th Lair, the forest of the suicidal. So the 7th Lair is the forest of the suicidal. Well, Cece, you're hitting all the nails on the head. The forest of the suicidal? Wow, you're telling me I hit the nail on the head? What did I just say? Imion and Cece. Big brain. So, Seventh Lair really did refer to a layer of hell. Real talk, I was just kind of speculating, not being completely serious. It can't be. This is too unrealistic. The word itself, unrealistic at this point. The meaning was infinitesimal. And surely we all knew that, but the fact that a female being before us even existed, given everything that we had witnessed up until this point, any semblance of reality had long since been lost. So are you saying that you're some sort of servant of hell? Or the devil itself? No, Michelle. I am a retainer of God. Hell is not solely the lair of the devil, mind you. Ha! A retainer of God? Well, good freaking job. Dragging some lowly humans into this absurd game. A little bored, huh? As I had already attempted to make clear, I cannot be defined. I am an uncountable existence, and I am not something that conforms to time. And my existence, the me, that which purports to be before you, is that alone. The actual me does not exist anywhere, yet everywhere, all at once. This world is not one of individuals, but only things that have an infinite grasp and perception of what is. I don't understand any of this. And now you're talking about gods and stuff. I just can't believe any of it. How deplorably empty. Dante Alighieri recorded our world with striking accuracy. And for many centuries, people were instilled with the fear of sin. But as ages have passed, the Divine Comedy has come to be but a work of fiction. But what world are we in? It can't be hell, because that makes no sense. How is this all made? You too are empty. Angel. Ooh. How? Or in a way, why? All of these questions will bring you no discernible meaning. You all have been met with an incomprehensible existence, and now you are trying to apply your logic to it. But that will only bring you meaning that pertains to your own world and values. So, you're a retainer of God and can do anything, is what you mean? If this was a mystery, people would be throwing tomatoes. Yet, there is something that we hold as important. Not such an empty inquiry, such as how this world was made, but rather, why it was made. So there's a reason, not just for your sick pleasure. Pleasure? How foolish. Why would you assume this was for fun? What else are we supposed to think? Seventh Lair is just a game world. And the one who created this world is you, is it not, Michelle? No, There is a universal law in our world. Creation, in its purest form, can only be done by the Father God. So, fun, not fun fact, according to Dante, those who died of suicide are the only people who would not be freed by rapture, having thrown their bodies away. Oh shit. We are everybody here is the forever damned. Oh shit. I am not God, but a retainer. I am not capable of creating a world from zero, which is why I merely borrowed your view of the world. Yet the place those contemplating suicide is not always a game. Yet the place that those contemplating suicide is not always a game world such as this. Michelle, since you had thought of this world at one point, this is the form it took. I cannot discern whether this game world that has been created is something you would expect of a game. It merely expanded from a concept. This place, it could be considered an illusion. In your real world, all of you are unconscious in front of your civilization's machines. They all passed out in front of the computer, except Pauline was already dead. So, when we downloaded the game from Realm Heaven, your spirits, or souls rather, were called to this world. She said before, the forest of the suicidal. No way, could we already be dead? You needn't fret. You have not taken your lives by your own hands yet. It simply means it was a highly probable outcome for you. So it's like Imion said. 1, ostracized by her supposed friends, a girl who made a world of her own. But the loneliness she still felt daily was overpowering. 1, a man who could not rebound from his failures, who feared mingling with society, who led himself to destruction through drink and drugs. Oh, Jacopo, that's you, huh? 1, a youth plagued by the dichotomy of the mind and body, unable to find a compromise between the self and society, living days in pain. The painful emotions that you bear, one single push in a negative direction, was certain to lead you to end your lives. I am a retainer of God, and also the attendant of the forest of the suicidal. I understand the inner turmoil of you better than you can imagine. And through divine guidance, those souls have been brought together by an electronic platform, like moths to a light, but what awaited was not light. I too was drawn to that place as I watched over your emotions and behavior. What you understood and what you did not. It is possible that not even we knew that. I felt on the one hand that I understood her, but also that I was lost. The discomfort at not knowing what to ask or say growing. A long silence enveloped all of us. Let me try and make sense here. By all means, Michelle. So, you're not a person, but an existence in the realm of God, and also the attendant at the forest of the suicidal. You don't have the power to create this world, so it's an illusion based on my ideas for a game. And all of us gathered here were those who contemplated suicide. That is correct. How good that you understand so quickly. But hang on, there's one thing that isn't clicking here. Why am I here? I've never contemplated suicide in my life. You haven't, Michelle? All right, good for you. I've wanted nothing more than to return this whole time. I have a reason that I must return. I can't have her worry about me. Since I have Giselle, I have no reason to want to end my life. Did you need my vision for a game? Is that why you called me here? I said moments ago that your interpretation was correct. While my words may lack certain specificity, you have one crucial misunderstanding left within you. What do you mean? Can you stop speaking so vaguely? All of you gathered here, as I said before, are those who were one step away from self-destruction. Meaning, if something did not spur you along, you would not have committed suicide. Allow me to tell the reason I prepared this world. It is not important how it was made. However, for what purpose is more important than anything. Then, for what purpose was it made? For what purpose did you send us to an illusory world? It was to save you. Shit, Cece, you were right again! Save us? Cece, you're good at this. What are you saying? We went through such hardships, yet you say it was to save us? Well, you didn't save Yukimasa, that's for sure. Perhaps you mistake benevolence for malevolence. No, it was a guaranteed way to save you all. I am the attendant at the Forest of the Suicidal. As part of our methodology, we do not accept such thoughts but dispel them. So you mean you wanted to prevent the suicide? Not only you all, but I have interfered with many who strove towards self-slaughter, and as such have prevented such outcomes uncountable times. However, interfering with you all did not go as planned, and you all came to the brink. You, guided by an invariably evil will, having no time to ponder the alternative, were being sucked rapidly into the world of the dead. What do you mean, an evil will? For you, and others weak like you are able to be easily infected by emotion, and particularly if that emotion is one that desires death. Your desire for death was cast upon you by a certain being. Wait. Which is the reason I created Seventh Lair and interfered in your electronic world. Wait, is she talking about the fairy? Cece, were you right again? This is a dangerous game? Oh shit. Which is the reason I created Seventh Lair and interfered in your electronic world. And as for the electronic data that was originally to be published on the first day of April, I replaced it with Seventh Lair. Yo! Your lives were all temporarily saved. I told you to wait! You make it sound like... It means that you were all about to be killed by Michelle. Yo? Hello? I was trying to kill them? Why would Doc Dork? That can't be true. Michelle, by some interpretations, made a masterpiece. By channeling his own malice and desperation into data. Those with a desire for death would have taken their own lives with the final push from his creation. Not the fucking fairy baby again, I know. It's so unsettling. That was the anticipated future for all of you. Wait, what do you mean? Why would I ever bring myself to do something like that? Don't just make up things as you go. I would never do something like that. Well, something tells me that there is a very good reason why the specific memory that Michel was losing was the game he made. He doesn't remember the game he made. Yes, as you are now, I believe you certainly would not. You are not evil at heart, if anything. You are much closer to a good Samaritan in nature. However, no matter how benevolent you may be, an overwhelming cause could lead you to fall. Ooh, Michel was so close to going along with Morgana's curse. I sure fucking hope Giselle is okay. An overwhelming cause could lead you to fall, like Giselle. No, nothing happened to Giselle, did it? No. Is this why Michel looks so pained on the start screen? A cause? I can't think of anything like that. What cause could there have possibly been? The cause was... Wait, Michel, don't listen to her. Ah, damn, it's starting to come together now. Say no more, Fairy. You already saved us, so let's leave it at that. Just take us back to reality already. Hey, Imion? It's fine, you don't need to hear any more of this. Let's all get out of 7th Lair together. No one's going to the forest of the suicidal. I cannot allow that. You who have attempted, or rather, I should say, you who desires suicide, you 3 may return home. But for the one who has already committed the act, you have no other choice but to enter 7th Lair. Already? Wait! No! Did Giselle die and Michel killed himself? When he uploaded the game? Oh, fuck. Ah! Michel Bollinger is no longer among the living. No wonder he fucking dropped into a graveyard at the beginning of the game. What? What? Yes, along with the game data infused with your death, you initiated the suicide of others. No way! Michel is dead? And the cause for your suicide became a powerful motivation for your final creation. And that ended up being a masterpiece. One that would influence others who had a similar desire for death. What could that be? To put it briefly... Stop it! Say no more! It was... Stop it now, Fairy! The death of your lover. Oh, we called it, motherfucker. You called it again, Cece. You called it again. I had taken that memory from you temporarily. You didn't remember that Giselle was dead. Which is why I took all the memories of the death of your lover as well. And now, I will return them to you. No, we're gonna have a we're gonna have a flashback about this. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Shit. Oh, I see. That's why Imion. That's why you were getting so flustered just now. Right. Now I remembered. No, the hole in my memory. It's coming back. I had been talking with him about it for so long. From the time she collapsed up until her life was lost. About what I could do, or what should I do. Right up until she died, I depended on him. And now I remembered. No wonder he got written into the main series. Yeah. Now I remembered. I remembered why she sang the Song of the Fairy. I remembered it all. No! No! I wanted another Giselle flashback so bad, but not one like this. After we officially became a couple, my lifestyle changed a bit. And the fucking monkey paw finger curling for me right now. I didn't plan to quit making games, and I even felt like I was ready to make a good one. But I was also thinking about getting a real job. Don't fucking Ave Maria me! My intentions were good, but a 27-year-old with no reputable working experience couldn't just walk into a job in this world. Don't fucking Ave Maria me! So, after some thought, I started working a non-contracted job. What I chose was editing. This was probably because I felt a need to be a part of the creative process. I slacked when it came to updating Royaume Heaven. Emion teased me for being busy in the sack, and that may have been true to some extent. Michelle was getting some. But the biggest reason was that I was quite busy with work, and the next game I wanted to make was a big one. I had trouble bringing my ideas into focus, but I wanted to make something Giselle would like. Going a step further, I wanted to base the game around her image. That's why Giselle's on the fucking start screen! An illusory world that fit her captivating jade eyes. It would even be okay to make a game for her alone. It would even, like some authors wrote specifically for their wife or child, a game creator could do the same. That intention could be the very thing I needed as a motivational force. What I thought of before was appearance or how the users would feel, but now I would only think of Giselle. It may take some time, but I felt like in 2013, I could make something good. That Christmas, I spent it with a lover for the first time in my life. Despite always having bagged on those stupid couples and their stupid relationships, being in that position now, I enjoyed it to the fullest and realized just how petty I was. The part about Emion making a game for the person is hurting more now, by the way. I know! Ah! To suit the season, many would reserve a fancy restaurant and then maybe a lavish hotel afterwards, but we decided to stay local, only eating at a slightly better place than usual, then relax with a movie we rented at home. Literally Netflix and chill, because Netflix was around in 2013. I liked the movie, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and she said she wanted to watch it with me. I didn't feel it was good to watch as a couple, so we went with The Young Girls of Rochefort. Okay. I need to look up these movies too. All right, the 3 movies this game is making me watch. One was Gattaca, that they talked about when they were getting to know each other. All right. I think I've heard of The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. 1964. A young woman separated by her lover at war. Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be a good romantic movie to watch. All right. The young girls of Rochefort. Is a 1967 French musical comedy film written and directed by Jacques Demy. All right, I have the three. Oh, Catherine Deneuve is in it. Ooh. They had two 60s movies to choose from. This was a great movie with scores from Michel Legrand. Hey, another Michel! She enjoyed watching it the whole way through, and that made me happy. I was sure days like this would continue into next year. Don't fucking do this to me. All couples in love undoubtedly thought the same. You'd have to be truly twisted to think of anything else during a special day like this. It wasn't until a month later. I think most were still in the New Year's spirit. With a voice drenched in confusion, fear, and shock, she told me over the phone. They said that I have cancer. Motherfucker! What? Huh? All that I could utter were perplexed grunts. How can they fucking do this to me? No, Victail! This is the worst April Fool's joke ever! Knowing what those words meant linguistically didn't mean I understood them. No, I was refusing to understand. They found something when I had a test not long ago. What? Wait. Just hold on a minute. What is that even? She must have been terrified. She was the one in despair. She was the one trembling. I needed to be the strong one and say something to comfort her, but I was assailed by a sudden, limitless darkness. Like all of the world had vanished. And what set in next was panic. Novek like, hey, for April Fools, we should make a game that fucking obliterates Katie specifically. I know, and like other people too, who played the game. But I'll be having surgery. It'll be okay. Oh, thank you, Cece. That's thoughtful. Her voice was the one trying to console, yet I was the one who needed to tell her it'll be okay. It's less the personal bit and more the, oh my fucking god, they're going there with these characters. That's, like, really shocking me right now. Which, like, nothing should shock me at this point. Considering, like, fucking, A Requiem for Innocence, but still. Her voice was the one trying to console, yet I was the one who needed to tell her it'll be okay. Yeah, Jacopo, shocked me too. Yeah, right. It'll be okay. With modern medicine, it's not even a serious illness. That's right. I mean, look how shipshape I am right now. Yeah, that comes as a big shock. But yeah, let's be careful until you have your surgery. Get lots of sleep. Eat well. Such the worrier. Her voice at the time didn't show a hint of sickness. It was the same as ever. Well, I could hear the shock and fear in her voice when she got the news. Her body was as healthy as ever. It was nothing. I couldn't help but think that. I couldn't help but wish it. All the all the while with the weight of cancer looming over us. I tried to believe in modern medicine, as if it were our savior. To start, young people aren't supposed to have major illnesses. She was still 21. Having your life plagued by illness was something for down the road. Even more so for life-threatening illnesses. I mean, come on. 21-year-olds don't die easily. Even if they did, it was such a low chance that it wasn't something that happened. Sure, all kinds of tearjerker stories and movies were made. Like those of the tragic parting between the protagonist and their lover. But we were normal people. So I mean, none of it was real. Just completely unreal. Her first surgery went off without a hitch. As soon as she saw me run, winded, into the hospital room, she chuckled. See, you worry too much. Seeing her unchanged smile, a wave of relief from the bottom of my heart made me do the same. Right, I knew it. It wasn't a big deal. This is real. I let myself be enveloped by that relief. She was so energetic in the hospital room. She ate all the sweets and food they brought her. There were others in the same room, looking pale, in terrible condition. Looking at them, all I could think is how I was glad she didn't turn out like that, no matter how awful that was. They looked like they weren't long for the world, but she was still in our world. The comparison was like night and day between them and her. When she was out of the hospital, we went to the places we wanted to go, saw movies we wanted to see. I worked on games I had been kind of stuck on. With the crisp sunlight of winter shining on us through the window, we talked. Her forehead shone red with the sun's light. Apparently it has spread. Huh? Things had been going so smoothly, and she hadn't been out long. She brought it up with a painful grin like it wasn't a big deal. Seems like it's spreading faster because I'm young. But it'll still be okay, right? If it was going to be okay. That was surely what she wanted to know the most. Yet there I was, helplessly asking her the questions she wanted answers to. How pathetic of me. That was the one thing I shouldn't have done. Of course it'll be okay. I'll be out of the hospital temporarily and I'll have to have surgery again, so things will get busy. But as long as I have the surgery, I'll be as good as new. She smiled in the way she always did, and I believed in that smile. I had to, but I was as nervous as could be. I think it was my first time praying to a god. On the way home, on the train, constantly, I felt like some unknown assailant had my heart in its grip. It was a terrible, waking nightmare. You gotta keep it together. What's wrong with you? Well, yeah, I know that. But I just don't know what to do, or how to even approach this. I just know I'll start thinking bad thoughts. She'll be okay though, right? I mean, she's so young. This is like some cruel joke. Keep it together, man, jeez. I looked around online and there's lots of people who managed to get through it. But searching online, I kept seeing that it spreads faster if you're young. Stop thinking negative, you big doofus. Whatever the illness is, what's important is how you feel. She's all smiles to make you feel better and stuff, but what she really wants is for you to say everything's gonna be okay. If you're not her support, then what the hell is she supposed to do? It's something only you can do. I just worry if I can actually... I get sick with worry when I see her face. I need to be the one to put her at ease. And I understand that so hard it hurts, but I'm self-centered in the end. If she were to disappear, I'm not sure I could go on. Keep it together. I need to be the one to hold it together. I repeated that to myself each time I went to see her in the hospital. But that resolve always seemed to crumble and fade the moment I saw her face. She was like a drying plant, and I had no water to give. If I did, all I had was rotten, murky water. My performance was terrible. It must have been so easy to see I was putting on a show. 1 month passed, and that turned into 2. I tried to deny it as long as I could, but Giselle was getting thinner. Her cheeks in the stark winter sunlight. I just didn't see the same life that they had before. As the surgeries continued, we kept saying to each other that it was fine. It was nothing. The next surgery is the last. She'll be out of the hospital in a jiffy, all in direct contrast to the sickly tone her face was taking. And then, the announcement finally came. The surgeries can't keep up with the spread of her cancer. It was like tumbling down a steep hill. Neither of us had any idea that it would take a turn this fast. We had no chance to even process what was happening. The feelings of despair came like pounding rain, relentlessly. We had no idea how to resist it. Well, there was no possible way to resist it anyway. What do you think about a song? Our conversation had drifted to silence, which continued for some time, but she broke it with that question. A song? A theme song for Fairy House. Wait. This is when she thought of it? What the fuck? A theme song for Fairy House, if we have one. You can add it in with the next update. It felt like it was the first time in a while we had talked about games at all. Since she had fallen ill, I hadn't done anything to Royaume Heaven. I hadn't even looked at the forums. I felt odd yet melancholic to even hear her mention Fairy House. Why a song, though? Giselle had been clutching my hand the whole time. Her grip felt weak, as if all the life had drained from her fingertips. Those bony fingers grazed my hand, searching for a sense of security. I would have burst into tears if I wasn't careful. I want to leave something behind. But I don't have the talent or skills to actually make anything. So I thought that singing would be a good thing to do. I can't sing like a professional, but if it's okay with you, I wanted to be a part of your game. Can I? It's as though she was... Stop talking like you won't be here. You can do it anytime. After you get out of the hospital and get better, then you can sing. So it's not like you have to do it now, but if we don't do it now, we may never have another chance. But that's... No! I squeezed her hand. Her shockingly frail hand was light as a feather. In a raspy voice, I pleaded, "Please don't say that." I didn't want to hear that the end was near from her. Everything was going to be fine. Even with how fast it spread, medicine can help. My wishes were borderline delusional. Her voice in that moment was frailer than I thought possible from her lips. I don't want to be forgotten. Like a levee had broken, she burst into sobs. I know I need to sort out my emotions. I've been thinking a lot that I need to make my death not be a burden on you. So it's better if you forget about me. I know that already, but it's so painful to think my existence will fade from you. It's so much harder than the physical pain and anguish I feel. She took as deep of a breath as she could after her outburst. I think it was the first time she had gotten so emotional with me. She'd always been so considerate. She was the one who was sick, but she was always the one to smile and reassure me everything was fine. But she was just being smart, thinking logically about what kind of future she had to leave for me. She didn't really feel that way. Obviously. It was so obvious, yet I hated myself for being so helpless as to make her scream like that. So, what she was saying was that she wanted to leave her voice in my game. She wanted to leave her mark on the world, and it was for me. Forgetting would be so much worse. Running my fingers along hers, running my fingers through her hair. Like always, she was there, and I felt her. But an impending sense that always was about to disappear. I blinked hard to shake the image from my mind. Blinking like that made the tears welling up in my eyes stream down my cheeks. What I couldn't hold back was now spilling out. At first, I thought it was a miracle. Even if I could relive my life again and again, there would never be another like you. At first, I thought it was a miracle. Even if I could relive my life again and again, there would never be another like you. You accepted my games for what they are, and I started wishing that you could have accepted all of me for what I was. And then that came true. There will be others who like your games for what they are. No, Giselle, that's not what I mean. I started wishing that it would be you, and that it would be you who accepted all of me. It had to be you. That was just how it was. Your words. Every one of them. They were what saved me, both as a creator and as a man. Although, I don't think you exactly knew you were saving me. I had lived 27 years, never recognized by anyone. I felt like every corner I turned, there was someone telling me I was worthless. That person who gave worth and meaning to my life. The person who expressed love for me. The person who, before I realized, was my everything. I could never forget her. Even attempting to forget would have been impossible. It wasn't some temporary impulse either. I'm pretty sure it was a sense of certainty that only someone who had been a creator for so long could feel. To create something, there needs to be motivation, a driving force, and that had eluded me. But she finally filled that hole inside. Her existence had affected me deeply, and she was now the center of my life. Whatever may happen, she was now an impossible thing to remove. Until I grow old and die, my only love will ever be you. I said it quickly, her gasp between my breaths. She was quiet before trying to say something, but she again closed her mouth. I had a good idea of what she might have said, though. She wanted to tell me I was wrong. And I was sure she wanted to say it for my benefit. But I didn't want to hear that from her. I wanted her to understand. I wasn't just saying this on an emotional impulse. After another long silence, she spoke again. It's like something from a storybook. She smiled somewhat jokingly, like always, but not quite. There were tears running down her trembling cheeks. We embraced to try and console our mutual despair. When our tears finally stopped, the sun was already low in the sky. Watching the fading sunlight out the window, I spoke again. What kind of song do you want to sing? I couldn't think of denying her request. Let's see. I think a gentle song would be nice. As if she were perfectly calm, she answered in a voice I knew all too well, a gentle song. That vague way of putting it actually suited her. The lyrics? Can I think of them for a bit? I nodded. It was the least I could do. The next day, I was supposed to record her singing. We couldn't sing in the hospital room, of course, so we used a grassy area outside to do it. She sat under the shade of a tree. I held up the best voice recorder we could manage to get. I waited for her to begin. Motherfucker! It's in the song! Motherfucker, she's talking about staying around for him after her death. She wrote it into the song. Motherfucker, it was there the whole time. In the light that filtered onto her through the tree, she was beautiful, singing only above a whisper. She had no makeup on and wasn't dressed stylishly like when we went on walks. Her face had lost its colorful vitality, and her hair seemed dry without its usual sheen. But even still, she was absolutely beautiful. I would have been fine with time stopping forever. How are you going to make the song? I don't know anyone who can make music, so I'll do it myself. Do you know how? I've never tried, but I'll do it. I'll do it just to show you that I can. I wanted to make an amazing game, using you as my inspiration. But I had always been talentless as a creator. I always dwelled on this and that and get lost along the way. I don't think I'll end up making it a reality now. This was likely all I can do for you now. I didn't say that to her, though. I worked on the song constantly, almost without any sleep. I had never made even a single song before. I didn't know how to use the software. I couldn't read music. Even in music class, my grades were the worst. Music isn't a world someone can delve into without any knowledge. But despite all that, I was compelled to. I had no idea what I was doing, so I repeatedly checked each command I input. I placed a note, then played it. It would take me a whole day to make only 5 seconds of the song. While I worked, I would go visit her in Lyon as well. She started to worry about me as the lack of sleep showed on my face. Each day, her condition seemed to worsen. I was gripped with the apprehension that I needed to work faster. That went on for about 10 days. It was a simple song, just a minute long, but I had put my heart into it. I thought it sounded nice, and once it was ready, I hurried to have her listen. She was almost brought to tears. I think it's beautiful. Those were her words. And then, on February 14th, the updated version of Fairy House was released. Valentine's Day! Oof, wait. Valentine's Day was not that long ago, so that means between February and April, Giselle died, and Michelle managed to make an entire game. Whew. Since we're like at that time of the year, we can actually feel how long that was. You just remember right now when was Valentine's Day, and it's really not that much time. It was version 2.2, the one with Ron in the lyrics. I released it into the void of the internet. I wanted any and all that would listen to hear her voice. I loaded it onto a large free game site as well, and some other sites I had overlooked until now. I wanted to get it out anywhere I could. The voice of a real fairy and my creation. I wanted people to see it. As for responses, there were some. The song sucks. How do you play this game? Couldn't do it. It's already in the trash. Ah! Motherfucker! This isn't worth releasing. What is this, karaoke? Ha 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 ha! Why is there even a song? Piece of shit. Not even worth it for free. Hasn't he ever heard of mixing? Can you not delete the song? Pretty shitty. Ah! Why did I get my hopes up? Why did I think that everyone would somehow magically appreciate this? Wait, you can read the forums? Man, I'm gonna have to look at this. On the forums, he's quiet for basically the whole winter and only shows up to announce the April Fool's game on March 24th, with Imion being concerned for him. Yikes! There's a ton of stuff on them. Ah! I'll have to look at it. Whew. Why did I think that everyone would somehow magically appreciate this? Where did that lofty idea even come from? To think that strangers would understand that what she and I had shared together. I was dreaming the whole time. Everything about the game was made according to my whims. No matter what course of events happened to make the song, nothing would get through to anyone. It fell flat. There were other less harsh words, but what stuck with me were only the negative opinions. My heart seemed to churn in pain each time I read them, because it also seemed that they were denouncing Giselle too, along with me. My emotions inside seemed to swirl violently. Without knowing why, the strings of insults seemed to hammer into my skull. In that moment, I screamed through my rage-induced tears. How was it? Was there any reaction to it? With her eyes as full of hope as they were capable of, she asked me hesitantly, to that face. I couldn't possibly bring myself to tell her the truth. I couldn't tell her of the heartless words I had seen. So, with as convincing of a fake smile as I could muster, I told her, everyone said it was really good. I'll never forget her unabashed smile in that moment. But the emotions inside me, black and bubbling like a festering wound, didn't go away. Giselle, as if she had finished all that she had left to do, passed away a few days later. Like a dying flower, dropping its last petal, it happened so fast. Seemingly the instant the cancer had been discovered. She had disappeared from my side. I had been emptied. There was now a void within me, as if the root of everything inside me had been yanked up and discarded. The utter husk that was me seemed to be there and alive, but inside was nothing but darkness. I had no motivation to do anything and quit the job I had finally started. I was in a daze, forgetting to eat and sleep. I started up my computer and Skype started automatically. Oh, this is how you know it's fucking 2013. People are using Skype. Showing that I had faced messages from Imion. The icon flashed with a notification. I couldn't reply. Even that was too difficult for me. I deleted the entire application from my computer. Fuck. After that, about a month passed. Passage of time was more or less lost on me, and days and nights passed languidly in my dark, locked room. I opened my computer, as that was the only instinct that still seemed to function. I took a look at Realm Heaven for the first time since she died. There were some posts on the forum from the regulars, but nothing about it felt like the old days. No new game yet, eh, Dark Dork? How long are you gonna keep slacking, you quack? Hurry and give us something. One of the regulars, JB, all I could do was give an empty chuckle. A new game, even though I have nothing left. Even though I have no energy to even think. Even though if I release something, you would just bash it as lame and boring. Even though you would toss it right in your trash folder. Who are you to order me to make a game anyway? She's gone. She was the only reason I was gonna make another game. Time to stop. Just stop. Stop everything. I'm unable to make anything. And the being formerly known as a creator is finished. I can't even find value in the act of existing anymore. Even breathing felt heavy, knowing I would never look at it again. I motioned to close the site, but just then, I noticed one of the comments. So what? Did he die or something? Ha 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 ha. Once I saw that, I felt something immeasurably dark emerge inside me. I don't think it was rage toward that one particular poster. It was the retaliatory malice of a creator to every gamer out there. It was something that should not have been. They were free of sin. They did nothing wrong. Some players are downright nice. But knowing that in my head did nothing. My emotions were now in control. That's why I replied. My mind had been made up, and it couldn't be changed. I was no longer rational. It was as if I was possessed by a demon. I'll have a new release on April Fools. Shit! Why did I get the urge to do that? Did I just want to do something sinister to them? Did I want someone to comprehend a single fraction of the loneliness and anger I was feeling? Did I want them to feel the same as I did? Did I want to crush their spirits as mine had been? I felt like all those hit the mark yet missed completely. The only thing I knew for sure was the immense pain for one single man. It was far too heavy of a burden to bear. The putrid, pus-filled swamp of malice that had manifested inside me. It was growing. In fact, it was consuming me. It wouldn't get better unless I could expel it. Well then, I needed to spit it out, show it to them all. And I only had one method of doing that. I was a creator. The only choice I had was to put hope and benevolence, hate and despair, all of it, into one of my creations. Will you all laugh when you see this? Will you shower me with snide chuckles, insults, pity, or disgust? Or will my despair pierce through you in a meaningful way? I wouldn't know how it would play out. I didn't need to know. That was already beneath me. I didn't care about any backlash. All I would do was release it. That's all. I ended up finishing on time and went through with releasing it. In a way, this was to be my last creation. Although, I didn't know if it was something worth calling a creation. It was the malice of a creator. His despair and his madness all wrapped up into one. He released like the freeware game equivalent of the end of Evangelion. Ah, Michelle! A suicide documentary. I did enough to make it look like a game. Desktop icon, what have you. You know, if he'd actually successfully released it, why isn't it on the site? How could the angel intervene? Oh. And I simulated it countless times because I couldn't do a debug test. If I messed up anywhere along the way, it would be all for naught. Until April Fools came. Over and over, I practiced for how I was going to kill myself. My last creation. And then April Fool's came. I can't believe we were right, motherfucker. And then April Fool's came. I hadn't a single inkling that I could possibly fail, despite being the type who has a plethora of bugs in my games. This time, of all times, it would go flawlessly. There was an odd sense of comfort in that. I sat before the camera. I synced my computer up so I could post it immediately. I pressed my left arm firmly against the desk so it wouldn't slip. Ah! I raised the knife, and with enough force to possibly cleave my wrist off, I brought it straight down. The pain was intense, so much so that I wanted to scream. So much so that I almost lost consciousness. But if I did scream, and off the off chance that someone barged in, this would end in failure, I bit down on my lip to keep my voice low, but even then I groaned like a dying beast. I found myself thinking that would be more real to have at least some screaming. I was used to making a build of a game. I could easily do it before I passed out. My dazed brain slowly draining of blood. I lined up the video, I compressed the file, and then I uploaded my final release to Realm Heaven. Wait. Did he make a game at all? It was just a video of his suicide? It wasn't a game at all. It was just a video of his suicide. Oh my god. It was what I wanted. To unleash my spite. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a game at all. It was a shock video. It was what I wanted to unleash my spite. That was the truth. I didn't know if he intended to do that to them, but little did he know that that would, trigger people. I have no comprehension of creation, however. After observing at length these beings called humans, I have come to an understanding. Yeah, not to make them die, but to hurt them. No, of course, of course. When humans create a masterpiece of some kind, there is a powerful source of motivation behind it. Why are you calling it a masterpiece? For all of the games that Michelle had made until this point, a powerful motivation did not exist for it. Although for this fairy house game that I am borrowing, there were powerful thoughts behind it, yet it was no masterpiece. A true masterpiece doesn't ask permission to move people. Stop it! What masterpiece? You keep saying that word over and over again. Move people to death? What kind of masterpiece is that? That's what I'm saying. A masterwork of malice. You can't call that a masterpiece. That would be just a painful heap of despair. Michelle, hey, say something. Tell us this is all a lie. Something as crazy as pushing people to suicide. You would never do that, right? Michelle! I don't know if I was trying to push people, but it's the truth. Michelle, I tried to distribute a game that was infused with my own death. And in that, there was malice indeed. I remember everything. The pain at the time, the loss, and the spite and hate building inside me. The desperation and madness, it's all true. The fairy house song. I didn't talk bad about it. The one who was bashing it was JB. Yeah, what the fuck, Jacopo? That's not... No, Doc Dork, it wasn't how I really felt. I never knew your story. I didn't know. If I did, I wouldn't have... I know that. No, I've come to know that. Talking to you two directly, knowing what kind of people you are, and knowing what you think of me. But at the time, in that moment, I didn't know that. You two, and a lot of others, I wanted to drag you down with me. Aid, I called him a murderer, yet I was trying to be one myself. So that's how it was. Michelle, you're not a killer. If the fairy here hadn't switched it out at the last second, I would have been. But still, even still, you're not a killer. No, you're the opposite. I had always hated myself so much. Everything was a facade. I couldn't even make friends. I tried to act positive on the internet, but in reality, I can't even look someone in the eye. I was so sure that no one would ever be my friend. The only one who was on my side was my imaginary big brother. But it wasn't the case. Even after knowing what I did, you reached out to me and saved me. The things I wrote on Royaume Heaven, it may have seemed like I was just causing hardships for everyone. But something about that place told me it was okay to be there, so I made it my home. It was fun for me. And this role-playing experience here in 7th Lair, it was fun too. I think I was saved also. How odd. Will you not denounce him? Thinking back to the cause of all this, Michelle is the perpetrator. You are now aware of his heinous behavior and depths of his insanity. Denounce him? What is wrong with you? How could we attack Michelle for this after what we've heard? Had you not met face to face, and he had initiated your suicides through his electronic work, do you think you could say the same thing? Sophistry is unnecessary. Is it not more important what we think of him now? I see. Indeed, the ebb and flow of human emotion is something that I cannot fully decipher. Initially, one reason I switched in 7th Lair was to save you temporarily in order to judge whether you truly had any intention to commit suicide. Seeing how you are acting now, that may not have been necessary. Your transition in emotions portends to a very positive outcome. However, as for him, Michel, he cannot return to your reality. I can return a spirit to living flesh, but nothing can be done for a corpse. He is already destined to descend into hell. Get out of here! Why does he alone have to go to hell? Did he do anything to deserve that? Yes, he did. His own suicide and also initiating the suicide of others. This sin carries a severe penalty. No, don't say that. Please, I'm begging you. He's a precious friend of mine. Don't say you'll take only him. Do something about it. You're like a god or something, right? Do something, please. Death cannot be undone. No! Reincarnation, bitch! Now, the time of reckoning. I shall ask you three, formally. Do you intend to return to reality? Or do you wish to stay here as you are and enter the forest of the suicidal as one of the deceased? You should all go back. You really should. I want you to. Right now, I'm full of regrets. I regret my decisions at the time. If only I had realized so many things, realized them sooner than I did. The one who puts thought into something isn't just the creator. The players receiving it do as well. Creation is a one-way street, and you can't actually see the recipient's thoughts. But there should have been a way to get closer, and there was. The people gathered at Royaume Heaven. I could have gotten closer, asked what they were thinking, and then I may have been able to visualize. I may have been able to see what was behind the text. I should have tried to know who you were before I made something as heinous as I did. Your true selves. Please, return. And be friends from here on. And please continue to live your lives. It's fine. I will be the one to harbor these regrets now. I won't, Imion. I said I won't, Michelle. There was one more thing that I was keeping from you. I said just before that I made my game for a girl that I liked. I was talking about Giselle. What? You were the friend who showed Giselle then. You were the friend who introduced the website to Giselle. What? I made it for her. I had feelings for her for some time now. And I was the one who told her about your games. The friend she mentioned all the time, that was you. Yeah, it was. Man, that must have fucking sucked for Imion when he found out that, that, like, with chatting with Michelle, like, ooh, who's the girl? She got big boobs. That it was literally, just by sheer coincidence, the person that, that Imion had a crush on. Jesus. I didn't want to imagine her ever in a relationship with someone else, with another man. Even though I knew that time would definitely come. I wish so badly for it to never happen. I wanted her all to myself. But I knew that was unfair of me. And I was kind of pinned between those conflicting emotions. But then it occurred to me, if it was you, I could let you have her. If you were her boyfriend, With me one step back, I could essentially keep watch over her with a smile. Anyway, that's how it is. I thought of you as a one-of-a-kind friend. I had never met you or even seen your face, but you were a valuable enough friend that I could pass the girl I loved over to you. Imion. And now, my friend and the girl I loved, I've lost you both. Continuing on now would be impossible. I can't accept that reality. Is that so? Then you are saying you too will enter the forest of the suicidal. Yes, No! You can't. You absolutely cannot. And why not? How selfish can you be to force me to live on my own? Yeah, I know. I know I'm just being selfish. And I know I'm in no position to force you. But even still, I want you to live. In death, nothing matters anymore. We both get to disappear and not worry about anything anymore forever. Is that so wrong? You won't need to concern yourself with me. Everything will be gone. No. Leave something behind. You can do it, and you have the talents to do it. Do you remember our argument from before? I told you that even if a lot of people have something, you can't say it truly exists if it doesn't stay within their hearts. I did say that. Yeah, you did. But like you said, that was only a way for me to tell myself I was in the right. My own works aren't received by the masses, but I kept wishing that they had more meaning. At least more than things that the masses liked. But in the end, I think a lot of the things people enjoy definitely do have meaning. I'm sure that if the game wasn't made with her in your heart, no one would have thought that it was a fun game. Because there is that driving force behind its creation, it became one that people talked about. But I no longer have that inspiration anymore. She's no longer here, and you're... But there is. Your own conflicts. You have yet to express those. If you can't speak of them, or show them in your attitude, then infuse your creations with them. You have the ability to materialize your desires. I know you have that talent. Don't err in the way to express yourself. I know you can walk a better path than I did. You can't just say that and expect. A long time ago, you told me something. You need to struggle in order to strive. Well, I'm throwing those words right back at you now. Struggle and strive in your creations. That's my request to you now. I couldn't do it, but I think that you can. I want you to let me entrust that hope to you. Imion. You and I think we were good friends. Damn, you just say what you want. You foolish, selfish, lost cause of a man. Even in our chats, you were always wishy-washy, immediately turning negative on everything. And to top it off, you off yourself. You... Imion. Listen up, Michelle. I'm gonna make something so huge that it'll reach you in the depths of hell. Imion's gonna go back! And I'll keep living my unstable life, and I'll die a ridiculous death myself and go to hell. And when I do, you tell me what you thought about it. Yeah. You bet. I will. You stupid idiot. Imion groaned those final words to me, then turned away and walked toward the others, displaying his intention to return to the other side. And the fairy, no, the retainer of God, then spoke slowly. So you have decided. Yeah. Yeah. It's done. Now then, you shall all return to reality and face yourselves in everyday life. You must not let yourselves make a decision that will lead you to hell. Imion's like, well, fuck that. I want to go to hell. The ones to return shall pass through this door. She then lifted a single bony finger, and in the darkness of the room, a door appeared. A door. The door to the mansion. Her finger then pointed straight, urging the three of them on. Dark. No, Michelle. I had fun getting to know you, and you definitely saved me. So I don't really know what to say, but I won't ever forget you. There's a lot of things I won't forget. Thank you. And take care of yourself. I know, of course it's that door, right? We have to part too soon after becoming friends. I wanted to have deeper talks with you. We could have drank and griped about this and that. I think we could have had some fun times. And I feel bad for hurting you. My actions weren't against you individually. You don't need to apologize anymore. So we're really leaving you now. Honestly, it doesn't feel real yet. But if you now remember that you actually ended your life, then I guess yeah. Goodbye, Doc Dork. Goodbye, Jacopo. No, let me do the same. Goodbye, JB. Yeah. Hey, is this really okay? Huh? You're gonna descend into isolation. That's what Michelle does best! Haha! Are you really okay with that? If you feel like you need a companion in this, I can go with you, you know? It's mean to pose that question. That's literally, Imion's role in canon, though. Imion, shows up while Michelle is shut in the house and eases the isolation for just a little bit. I wouldn't ask that. I see. Well, I'm just gonna have to catch a flesh-eating disease and show up at your door. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I guess it's goodbye. But remember what I said. Until we meet again. The three of them turned their backs and started toward the door she indicated. As they stood before it, a bright light enveloped them. I squinted to endure it, and when that light had receded, the three of them were nowhere to be seen. The reason they're in isolation is because they turn into trees. Oh, that's right. That's why she called it the forest. Oh! They turn into trees and can't move or make any noise unless a heartbeat tears at them, which is why they're allowed and they're allowed to briefly speak to their wounds. Holy shit. Yeah. Dante? What's wrong with you? So they're gone. Yes, and all that remains now is to guide you to 7th Lair. Oh. Fairy. Can I ask another question? I'm not a fairy, but yes, what is it? Why did you take my memories? There should be some rules that you have to follow? Whatever the matter may be, for what purpose is essential, you said. I don't think you would have taken my memories without a reason. Indeed. As decreed, those who commit suicide can never be forgiven and must remain in hell for all eternity. However, much has passed. And compared to before, those who have fallen into the forest of the suicidal have increased. Ah! We thought to expand our perspective on the issue slightly. To consider whether all must continue to bear their sin or not. Oh, you're giving people a reprieve. That's good. Your soul, at some point, may be able to be freed from hell. Oh, there's hope for Michelle! For those who were able to save others. You saved others, Michelle! We have begun to reconsider their circumstances. So, the reason you took my memories was to see your spirit in its original, purest form, and to determine in what way you interact with others. So that's why, not only them, but for me, you gave me a chance to be saved. Well, such is my duty. I suppose I should say thank you. It is not necessary. You are still going to hell, as I've already said. Yeah, I got that. But let me ask you another question. Every once in a while, there were some odd comments on the Realm Heaven forums. Almost like spam. Was that you? Yes. I interfered electronically and attempted to convince those who desired death. However, your electronic medium is rather difficult for me. Convince us. Something the matter? Retconning Inferno. Good, extremely good. Yeah, fuck Dante. We're gonna remake hell. No, it's just the kind of scary thinking. It's just kind of scary thinking about it now. An angel was posting on the forums. And one more thing. You draw this out. But very well, speak. What did you think of Fairy House's song? I do not harbor the same emotions as people. I cannot speak for its emotional qualities. But yes, indeed, I think the song is able to leave something with the listener. I see. Thank you. That's enough for me. Now, onward to 7th Lair. She bowed her head deeply and held out her hand. Knowing she was indicating for me to take it, I reached out. And please, do not let go of my hand. And then, my world crumbled. I heard a rumbling sounds as the floor collapsed and the walls came crashing down. Without a doubt, I was falling, just like the beginning of the game. Falling into darkness, with no bottom in sight. Just falling, falling, falling. But in the next moment, a white light scorched my eyes, and behind it, I could make out a girl with long hair. Giselle's waiting for him! Her body seemed draped in silk like an angel, I couldn't make out the details of her face or body. All I knew is that something utterly pure was before me. Or the white-haired girl? She grazed my cheek with her finger and gave me a gentle kiss on the lips. It all felt so familiar. Like something I love dearly. It's Giselle! It's Giselle! My motivation. My everything. But after a brief moment together, she went up and I went down. And as if both heaven and earth tore her away, she disappeared. No! She went to heaven and he went to hell. No. They got to smooch very briefly before they went on. And that's how they fucking end the game. Wow, worst April Fool's joke ever. Why do you do this to me? Oh, Mijeru Borinche, Ascento Dele from Happily Ever After, Shizeru, Imeon, Mijeru Boranje, Jacopo Beruzati, Neri Rose, Meru Rose, Eido, real name, they don't even call him Yukimasa here, Porin, Maria Campanera, appearance, Angel, real name, we're not telling you, it's Morgana. I guess because those are technically spoilers. Yukimasa's real name and the Angel's real name are technically spoilers, so you can go on and play this game without being fairly spoiled, maybe with like Giselle and Michelle at the most. Oh geez. Heika Hanada, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. To hurt you. Quality assurance, guys. I think this needs a few more go-overs. The internet? The voice of Fairy. Yusuke Tsutsumi doing a huge... doing a lot of work. Yeah, I hope, there was quite a few, like, it still got me, which speaks to the quality of the writing, but there was a lot of typos, like the most typos I've ever seen in a game, so it could go through a few more runs, maybe some patches, but that just makes me wonder what the French one is like. That's how it ends. Oh yeah, sorry about if ooh, it's the church. I'll talk a little bit about what happened after. Firstly, we all awoke from 7th Lair and before too long met up again. Is this Imion's perspective? The place, Paris, France, of course. Oh, I'll just pretend it's Imion. I'll talk a little bit about what happened after. First, we all awoke from 7th Lair, and before too long met up again. The place, Paris, France. Of course, it was to attend a certain individual's funeral. The funeral of the owner of Royaume Heaven. To us, he was known by his screen name, Dark Knight, which, yeah, is a little corny, but he was an honest and pure man, and that's what led him to death. His real name was Michel. I had known Giselle for a long time. Yep, I guessed correctly. So I was able to determine where he lived, and was also successful in contacting his family. Imion retroactively can assign Italian. After I heard the day of the funeral, I contacted Pinky Rose and JB, since we were now connected online. Their real names were Jacopo Berzati and Nellie Rhodes. Jacopo resided in Italy and Nellie in England. It was quite the distance, and I thought it'd be hard for them to make it, but they managed to arrange to come on the day. And at long last, we met in the real world. For our first offline meetup to be a funeral, sheesh. Oh, that was Jacopo. For our first offline meetup to be a funeral, sheesh. Jacopo bitched as usual, but I could see his eyes were slightly puffy, so he likely cried either on the plane or train coming to France. Well, it's possible Imion could still be Italian since, in reincarnation, Maria ends up working in Paris. The mood abysmal, yeah. Off-Kai mood abysmal. I hope our Off-Kai mood isn't abysmal. We gotta make it the opposite. Nellie, unlike her spunky self we saw in 7th Lair, seems like a scared little creature. We already knew one another, and I tried to tell her she didn't need to be scared, but it's scary with all these people here. It's been so long since I went outside, was how she replied. Slippy Off-Kai mood, ultra orange. Let's go. I'm surprised your parents gave you permission. A girl like you traveling all alone. I thought it out loud. I told them everything. I knew they wouldn't believe me about 7th Lair, so not that. Oh, Stella just jumped up, knowing we're like finishing the game. If you guys hear noise, that is the cat. Yep, there she goes, headbutting the mic with her whole body. I told them how I had a really good friend online and that he really helped me, but that now he's passed away. Stella? I swear to God. I told them honestly, and my mom understood. She even gave me the travel money. She answered, looking shyly down at the ground. We stood before a small graveyard, or rather, looked at it from a distance. While the coffin was being lowered into the ground, there were relatives surrounding it. It wasn't an easy situation where a group of 3 like us, all different ages and nationalities, could just slide in and say we were friends. You and Jacopo are only a year apart, calm down. Maybe 7th Lair was all a dream. That was the first thing I hoped for when I woke up. That was an empty hope. He was dead, sure enough. In front of his computer, the knife in his wrist. It said he was found in a pool of blood. It must have been a ton of blood. Must have hurt, too. What the hell did he do to himself? That stupid jackass. All I could think of was what if he had given me his phone number? Or if when our text chat suddenly stopped, I found out where he lived. Maybe this all wouldn't have happened. I could have stopped him. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Imion? My problem was, to him of all people, I didn't want to expose my true self. That's why I never tried to speak face to face. Stella, what are you doing? But if I had overcome those issues and taken those steps, he may be alive today. Ah, damn it. What's done can never be undone, but the regrets kept surfacing over and over. When I let my mind wander, I fell into an endless loop of what-ifs. No matter how our final goodbyes in Fairy House, there was too much left inside me in limbo. Stella sees you sad and is bunting to change that. Oh, is that true, Stella? It's not because you want attention and your afternoon. It's because you want your afternoon meal, but I'll pretend it's because it's because you think I'm sad. No, Stella. There are others that had died. It wasn't only Michel, the Dutch decapitator. As for him, when I searched for the Dutch decapitator online, a whole slew of information came up. Privacy on the internet, am I right? He was famous on some underground sites, so once a serial killer like him went down, I guess It was only natural there would be this much info. He was found dead in an Amsterdam apartment with a woman, Pauline. Well, more accurately, the woman had died from severe lacerations to the neck. Yeah, Yuki Masa had literally torn her throat open with his teeth. They were just about to be, you know. He was just about to go there, and he tore her throat out with his teeth first, and he's like, "Fuck, why'd I do that?" Anyway, I know. So heart failure, did he take something, or did dying in 7th Lair fucking death note him? I'm curious. And the man, the Dutch decapitator, had died of heart failure. Of course, we all knew his cause of death, but I mean, he died when he became a sacrifice to fight the demon lord. Who the hell would have believed that? Alternatively, his soul was taken by a retainer of God. Both of those were infeasible as explanations in reality. He was death noted. I didn't want to seem like I was crazy in some fantasy world, so I didn't talk about it. Oh, right, so 7th Lair is gone from the forum log. You can't download it anymore. I wonder if you two noticed. Oh, that was Jacopo. Oh, right, so 7th Lair is gone from the forum log. You can't download it anymore. I wonder if you two noticed. Nellie and I both nodded to Jacopo's question. 7th Lair was gone, without a trace at that. There's no trace it was ever downloaded either. Its disappearance was so clean, it was hard to believe it had ever existed in the first place. All that was left was that odd text on the forum. I wanted to believe that it was all just a terrible dream. But the coffin I occasionally looked up to see immediately told me it was real. An illusory reality. It sounded like an oxymoron, but that's all I could call it. Yeah, just thinking about it boggles the mind. I sighed heavily. Then I gave an intentionally cynical smile. But what disappeared wasn't just 7th Lair. And what does that mean? The masterpiece that he made also disappeared completely. The video he recorded his suicide in was also never found on his computer. I guess the fairy did her work. Nellie, who had been looking down this whole time, finally lifted her head and looked directly at us. The resolve in her eyes didn't match the timid girl we first met. It's something that couldn't be left. It's something that Michel really regretted. It would have pained him to see it still there. In the same way you couldn't delete something you released to the world, you couldn't take back something that you had done. So under normal circumstances, what Michel did would have been denounced by everyone. But that not being the case was likely a small salvation for Michel, who had descended into hell. I didn't want to think that hardliner fairy would have such mercy, but that was probably the case. After the ceremony, the attendees heard the final prayer and dispersed. Seeing some of them cry made me happy that there were those who still loved him. Yeah, they end up circulating, but the fairy, it got supernaturally fucking excised from the internet. Good. I then bit my lip, swearing to myself that I wasn't going to give him the honor of crying for him. After the attendees had all left, we stood before his grave. We then offered him 3 lilies. Nimia lilies? No, I'm just kidding. So what are you two going to do now? What do you mean? Should we go get a cup of tea somewhere? No, not like that. I meant it in the broader sense in the coming days. Oh, Oh, that was Jacopo. What do you mean? Should we go and get a cup of tea somewhere? No, not like that. I meant in the broader sense in the coming days. And people use the imagery all the time. Like that one music video that was going around a year or two ago pissed me off. Oh, I don't know about that one. Perhaps it's a good thing. I laughed subtly at Jacopo's question. I looked over to Nellie and had her answer first. I'm changing schools and I want to get a totally fresh start. Like Saori in Persona 3. I might not be able to make any friends my age, but when I start, I can turn to you two, right? So I won't be afraid when I go. Jacopo's face then softened into a kind and understanding smile. Ah! Sheesh. So this guy was capable of making a face like that this whole time. What about you, JB? Nellie, still using Jacopo's screen name, looked up at him. Jacopo averted his eyes before mumbling an answer. I don't care what it is, but I'll look for a job somewhere. That has to come first. Don't lose hope along the way. The only thing you need to lose is that attitude. Well, thanks for that. Unless that was Imion that said that, and then the two of them looked over at me. So, my plans, huh? Obviously, I had an answer. But first, I thought I'd jest a little. I think I'll try and aim to be the next Dante. Huh? What are you on about? Well, think of it like this. The fairy, you know. She said all that stuff about Dante and whatever. We were lucky enough to experience that world, so maybe I'll spread the word like he did. Think anyone would believe it in this day and age? And besides, what we experienced was a game world. You'll be labeled a lunatic, and that'll be the end. You can say that again. Jacopo crossed his arms and looked at me with eyes saying he knew I wasn't being serious. Nellie had her own big, bright eyes focused on me, too. If you look at... I started drinking water and broke character. Jacopo crossed his arms and looked at me with eyes saying he knew I wasn't being serious. Nellie had her own big, bright eyes focused on me, too. If you look at me that cutely, I might have to eat you up, I mumbled to myself internally. Aww. I smirked, and then I told them what I was really thinking. I'm gonna make a game, because that's the only thing I can do. And I'm gonna quit NVC Corporation, too. What? That's a massive company with a stable future. Don't you think that's a waste? The future and me don't exactly get along well. I laughed out loud and Jacopo gave me a slightly... I did it again. I laughed out loud and Jacopo gave me a slightly disapproving glare. What kind of game are you going to make? Something about your body? Nellie asked timidly. At her age, she surely had never come across someone like me before. It seemed like she was getting confused about how to ask about it. Now, if I created something about that so literally, it won't be well received. To do this right, you have to think of imagery and characters that everyone can latch onto, and then you slip in your own messages in between. But yeah. The spring wind... I keep doing it. Maybe my throat is tired. The spring wind blew by, as if stripping us of our emotional pain. Or maybe it was pushing us to pursue our dreams. I want to try and make it. I'll cast it into the wind and see whether it'll sell or not. Naturally, the title will be Seventh Lair. Seventh Lair, the game about being trans. It's not actually the seventh layer of hell. And there we are! Ah! Wait! The title changed to... Why is Giselle crying? Stop making her cry! What? I don't want Giselle to cry! No! The freaking start screen changed to crying Giselle. Why? No! Alright, we gotta look at Realm Heaven. Oh, that's the QR code. Everybody, if you want to check out the site yourself, go scan this QR code now. Anyway, let's look at extras. Concert hall short story. Oh, this is the music? Oh, it sure is. Damn, what names? You're curious what the extras are, but Jeremy's about to collapse in hunger. I'll just look at this short story. It looks like there's just one, because they just said short story. Ooh, that's a really pretty phone case. No name application. My birthday's on May 5th, said Giselle with a smile a week before the day. Oh, that's a month from now. In a month, we'll have to say happy birthday to Giselle. Was that it? I think you can give me a little better reaction than that. I mean, it's just a birthday, right? Well, I know that. I was trying to come off like I didn't care, but my heart actually started racing once she said the word birthday. My finger, which had been sliding around my smartphone screen, froze in place, but I don't think she noticed. I was confident in my poker face. As long as I wasn't plugged into a lie detector, I was fine. I'm planning on having a party at home. Will you come? I'm getting my Giselle voice all fucked up. I need to drink some more water. Yeah, sure, I'll go. I had no reason to refuse, and if I could see her all dressed up, then I was more than happy for the chance. But jumping out of my seat would have been corny, so I played it off like I could go either way. Although, I knew trying to act cool and aloof wasn't going to score me any points. I'd like 100 roses as a birthday present. You trying to bankrupt a broke college student? I'm joking, Giselle laughed. I could already see myself turning into the kind of guy who would actually buy 100 roses. Embrace the corn, Michelle. Like, maybe as a surprise for next year's, but no, there's not gonna be a next year. But I didn't really want to be that kind of guy. Anyone could buy roses as long as they had the cash. Just you coming will make me happy, but dress up for the occasion. I laughed as I cringed. I couldn't wait to see her in a dress, but thinking of me all dapper almost made me puke. So even if I had to let her down, I was going in jeans. Sorry, but that's the kind of guy I was. Well, you can dress up. Have like a nice dress shirt and jeans. Hey, Imion. I was in my 3rd year of college at the time. Giselle. Oh wait, this is all Imion. Wait, shit, this is all Imion. Wait, what? Yo, I fucked this up. This isn't Michelle. Oh, this is all Imion. It never specifically said they were lovers. Yeah, sure, I'll go. Wait, girlfriend? No. Wait. Girlfriend? So is this Michelle? I'll just keep going. I'm gonna pretend this is Imion from this time forward. I was in my 3rd year of college at the time. Giselle was approaching her 17th birthday and still in high school. We were some years apart, but good friends. They knew each other a long time. We had actually met at a party at a mutual friend's house. Back then, Giselle was still in junior high and was still full of youthful naivete. I didn't think much of her at first, only that she was a cute kid, nothing more. I didn't see her as a potential partner or anything like that. She was there with her parents, no less, so that maybe made her look even more like a child. Since she was about to enter high school, her parents told me to teach her all I can since she was nervous. I can still see Giselle huddling into a ball of embarrassment next to them. I was pretty sure I knew how she felt, though. In junior high, and moreover at the end of it, you were starting to figure out things and have an identity, so it was embarrassing to have your parents do things on your behalf. If it was me, I wouldn't have been caught dead out with my parents like that. So from then on, she was the neighborhood girl I knew. But slowly, we shortened the distance between us, and we're now close friends. The name she called me, Imion, wasn't my real name. It was a screen name I used online. That is, a nickname. One that I wanted her to use for me when it was just the two of us. Aww. Had we originally met online, going by our screen names would have felt only natural, but that wasn't the case for Giselle. It didn't sit right with her, I think. Like, why would I want her to call me such a different name from my real one? If she wanted an explanation, I would have told her I don't mind her using my real name. It would have been a chore explaining the reason, and I doubt she would have understood anyway. I felt more comfortable having her call me that, and for her, yeah, it was most likely unnatural in terms of normal human interaction. But she went along with it more easily than I anticipated. She said she would, if it was what I wanted, and she never really asked the reason. In fact, she even told me it was a nice name. In that moment, my perception of her went from cute kid to cute girl. She then entered high school, grew her hair out, and then before I knew it, I was taken with the beautiful woman she was becoming. But at the same time, I was worried some worm would latch onto her and found myself assailed by jealousy when I saw any boys near her. On the day of the party, I rang the doorbell, and the birthday girl herself came and met me. Hey there, what's the matter? You look terrible, she screamed the moment she saw me. I was wondering what that was all about, but then gathered it was the dark bags under my eyes. My face probably looked like a zombie's. I didn't want her to worry about me, so I laughed it off with a joke. With you on my mind, I couldn't sleep for 3 days and nights. Oh, don't you lie to me. I know you either saved your reports for the last minute or stayed up all night gaming. Sometimes I really can't tell if you're serious about school or not. Giselle, let me let you in on something. College students are creatures that spawn unfinished reports, and you'll eventually become one of those too. Shit, that's so true. Giselle's eyes went wide at first, but then she raised an eyebrow with a suggestive smile. I may not look it, but I'm the most studious girl around. I won't turn out as Miss Know-It-All claims. It would be impossible to not see you as studious. Give me a break. I swallowed those words and shrugged jokingly at her. We both chuckled. It certainly wasn't an unpleasant moment for two good friends. She motioned me inside and led me through the living room. Oh, but first... Oh, right. Can I borrow your phone? Yeah, sure, but why? Did you forget yours? Is that why there's this phone here? That does seem like a phone cover that Giselle would have. I only smiled in response. She seemed tensely alert now, but given that it was only me, she handed me the phone. Don't go sniffing around in it too much. Oh. Don't go sniffing around in it too much. I know you had a bunch of messages from boys here. No, I don't, you jerk. She went red in the face and jabbed me in the shoulder. I cackled, but it was mostly out of relief. If she had smiled bashfully and there was a big picture of a new boyfriend on her home screen, I may have turned around and left on the spot. Imion, what the hell am I thinking? It's inevitable that she'll get a boyfriend. As a matter of fact, her not having one soon would be more perplexing. The party was full of people I didn't know. Probably all her classmates and such. The only ones who I recognized were her parents, who were nice, of course. I was starting to feel antsy being in the circle of strangers with Giselle at the center. I wasn't the type to be controlling or jealous, and I obviously wanted the girl I liked to be free to enjoy herself. But these emotions still happened. Not even an all-knowing prophet could predict just what kind of emotions humans would encounter. Of course, I was hiding the fact that I was feeling this way. I too had a wide variety of acquaintances. Hence, it wasn't right for me to desire that someone else be all alone. That was nothing more than childish jealousy. But was that it? Childish jealousy? The fact that I was phrasing it that way maybe meant that this was desperation more than anything. My desires couldn't be heard. I could never reach her. A world where we weren't together, where we were together, wasn't possible. I couldn't even disguise these feelings as jealousy. Not good form. Really not good. I hated dwelling, moping around with no end. This was her birthday party, for crying out loud, a time to celebrate. Right, I even prepared something special for this. Giselle, happy birthday! Oh, Giselle, happy birthday! The one who said it, that wasn't me. It was a boy from her class, and he gave her a bouquet of flowers. Wow, a kid as young as high school giving flowers to a girl. So there really were chumps who thought they were hot shots at this age. Well, it's not like it was 100 roses or anything. Giselle accepted them with glee. Ugh, it felt like I witnessed an atrocity. But you know, Giselle, the gift I got you is unique. Only one in the world. Not some flowers you could get on any street corner. Such was the reason I hadn't slept, but I think the finished product came out good. I knew she would like it. I pulled her phone from my computer after the file transfer had finished and started toward her. Wait, 5 years ago, 21 minus 5 is 17. This is Farmy Farm. The first Farmy Farm application is going to be uploaded on her phone. Farmville, for you, Giselle. She turned around. Wait, I pulled her phone from my computer after the file transfer had finished and started toward her. She turned around. I returned her phone and wished her a happy birthday. In her phone, there was now an application she had never seen. There was no name for it, so I aptly labeled it No Name. I wondered when she would notice it. I wondered when she would play it. It was a game that I had made specifically for her. Yeah, it's Farmy Farm. Thinking of her fingertips as they grazed along the screen made my heart sing. I wanted her to be the one to name it. Giselle names it Farmy Farm! I would be happy with whatever she chose. Name it Farmy Farm! Side story! It was 2 weeks before her birthday. We were both lazily item farming and grinding levels on an online game. Turn that down a little. I was the tank and he was DPSing on the mage that he liked to respec like 3 times for. So this is Imion and I remember this song from the other game. But wait, this is Imion and Michelle, I'm assuming now, because they were playing MMOs together. We were whispering to each other and talking about— oh, shit. About nothing in particular. So yeah, how are things lately? I want to quit my job. Oh, that's right, he got a job recently, so I was right about that. I knew he had gotten into game development like he dreamed of, but maybe it wasn't going so hot. I had a feeling it would be like that. Hate your job? Quit! Haha, clobber your boss on the way out too. I had some humor to his obviously dark mood, but after a few seconds he posted a link. Wondering what it was, I opened it and saw it was an online knife shop. Which one do you think is good? Which do I think is good? Get out of here with that. At least to keep it to a punch, you nut job. Then come interview me after you knife up the place, and I hate the idea of doing what? Oh my god. He's like, I'm gonna stab my boss to death. Which one looks good? God damn it, Michelle. Relax, man. Sorry, maybe I'll let you go. I'm only joking. Sometimes I really couldn't tell if he was joking or... Okay, no more talking about work. Anything else, like, Giselle's face appeared in my mind. Was he someone I could bring up the subject with? Honestly, I had no one to talk about it in real life, and although I knew it didn't fit our friendship dynamic, I wanted to ask. Like a girlfriend or something? There was another lengthy pause. I noticed that his character had stopped moving too. You backstabber. Wait, what? I thought you, of all people, wouldn't be swayed by females. Now your mind is in the gutter. Piss off, lover boy. He fired it off and logged out without waiting for a reply. I stared at the screen, my mouth half open. A few days later, an apology message came over Skype. He apologized for his childish behavior, and it seemed genuine, so I replied that it didn't really bother me. Apparently one of the other older guys that he hated at his company had a new girlfriend, and he was extra bitter right now. I was sure his work was hard enough as it is, and he wasn't having any luck at all, so I chalked it up to circumstance. But there was one promise I made to myself. I would never ever bring up relationships with him again. Evian! That was it. So next time relationships came up, it was coming from Michelle, because Michelle was initiating all the online talk about his own relationship. Well, it appears that is it. That is 7th Lair. Much cheaper than the house in Fata Morgana, which is why it's shorter, and I could do this in 2 streams. Anyway, if any of you want to explore Royaume Heaven, the site where Michel posted his indie games, here is the QR code. I will probably be looking at this myself since that's really super cool. But anyway, man, that went places. Sorry that went places. They do start the game with a content warning, but that was on my last stream. So apologies if that caught anybody off guard. I should have maybe like gone over the content warnings again. But yeah. So they didn't have to fucking destroy me like that. What kind of April Fool's joke is this? You make me cry? I did cry, actually. But that was good. I don't know how many people are lingering around so much if I should just end here or try to raid somebody. But, yeah, kind of short stream for me. But this sounds like a good place to stop. That means I have to come up with a new game to play tomorrow. I have a few options. Like... Oh, this game I want to play in October. But... I know there's a Coffee Talk sequel coming out. I can use that if I need a day where I can just throw something off. I can do the next Atelier game. I could start Final Fantasy IX or Live Alive. Oh yeah, Atelier, Esha, and Logi would be the next one. I want to do Okami sometime, but it's got to be the right time, you know? I also have some games on PlayStation also. I was almost thinking about starting Judgment since I've been watching Rowan's Yakuza streams. And so I thought maybe I could start Judgment streams that wouldn't spoil Yakuza so much, hopefully. But yeah, I guess I'll go with what I feel like tomorrow, and it'll be a surprise. It'll be a surprise what I start tomorrow. All right, I also have Voice of Cards. Triangle Strategy. There's a few things. Oh wait, that's the demo. I don't actually have the game, right? So yeah, there's a few things on here. I will surprise you guys tomorrow with which one I end up feeling like playing. But anyway, thank you guys very much. And wait, I should leave you guys on the music. All right, thank you guys very much. And sorry that was so sad, but I guess if it's the house in Fata Morgana, you can't expect anything else. But you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will be back tomorrow. Oh, and Stella's yowling at me. It's time for her to feed. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a good evening. Bye. Meow, meow.